everyone. Welcome to the first night of EngSoc Debates 2025. Super excited to have you here. We're going to start this debate by inviting everyone to acknowledge the lands on which we meet today, as we do in many events. We're very grateful to live and learn and play on these lands, which are the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe. I'm going to set some quick expectations before we get right to the debates. Firstly, if you'd like to ask a question to the candidate, you can fill out one of the QR codes that they're swimming around. Just fill out one of those, and I have a list of questions here that I will pose. Please also hold your applause until the end of the debate once it's all concluded. The way that this is generally going to work is that each of the candidates is going to get the chance to open, and then we are going to ask a series of questions in which they'll be able to answer the question, do a rebuttal if they want, and then have a closing on the question. And they will all have options to do a closing at the end of the debate. All right. Amazing. We're going to start with the openings from our two presidential candidates, which is our first debate. Do you care who goes first? Go ahead. Come on up. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Jaya, and I'm going to start this the same way I started an interview I did a little bit over a year ago, because I don't have many new ideas. But it was an interview for a role that changed my life, and I wasn't sitting in front of a crowd of people, I wasn't sitting in front of a panel of some very scary people who are now a little bit less scary. I started by saying, hi, my name is Jaya, surprisingly, and I'm in my second year of engineering physics here at Queen's. And if you asked me a year ago what degree I was going to go into, I would have told you maybe English or drama. So I kind of chose engineering on a whim. But I'm here and I haven't looked back since. I then went on to talk about how O Week, surprisingly, was like a crucible to me. An experience designed to provide great dividends if only you would come out of your shell. And why that drove me to want to plan it. To provide people with their first taste of EngSoc here at Queen's. And I got the role. In my first year here at Queen's, you could probably find me within a 1-mile radius of the ILC. I made friends, attended classes, participated in events, but at the core of it all, while making my 15-minute walk back to West Campus, I still felt unsettled. It wasn't until I participated in O Week as a FREC that I was prompted to challenge this internal status quo. It was at some point between EngCuts and the champ rotation that I was approached by one of my first years and told, I don't feel comfortable here, and I don't feel like I fit in. I'm going home. This was an experience that so greatly reminded myself of my own self, and probably an experience that many people had when they came to Queen's. I carry that with me through my second year, all the way into my time as orientation chair, an experience that allowed me to manage and oversee finances, relations with the faculty, and a team of incredible individuals. We would then go on to hire a bunch of great leaders. And now I'm here. A successful O Week in the books and wondering what's next in my life. But all that's said and done, I know I want to be a leader, to challenge and change and to lead with empathy, from a place of gratitude for the opportunities that I've received. To me, a society implicates a sense of organization, togetherness, and community. These are traits I hope that I'm able to support if elected as president. I've come to value these traits through my experience as orientation chair last year. O Week being a special place where you're extremely connected to the fruits of your actions because they're the individuals whose lives you've changed. My hope is to bring that to all aspects of the engineering society, that strong sense of community. My main pillars being community, advocacy, and enrichment. I hope that a year from now we're looking at an engineering society that feels like it was built by the individuals who are involved in it, that any student's passion and drive can find a place for its expression, and that student leadership opportunities are increased, faculty-society relations are strengthened, and that internal structures of operation are optimized. But before we dive into our questions, I want to leave you with a thought experiment I've been trying recently. Being mindful of every small change you make and how it can lead to a dramatically different outcome. I'd like you to try it with me throughout this week, because at the end of this week, you will be casting a vote. Make the change to be more than just a participant in the engineering society, but an active member of our community, and the change to shape the future of our society. Together, I think we can create something that feels like it was built by us, for us, where every passion finds its place and every student can find a home. Thank you.
which we will now hear from our second presidential candidate.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jordan Belinsky, and I'm very excited to speak in front of all of you today about my platform and hopefully to convince some of you to have the confidence to vote me as your next Engineering Society president. I'd first like to forward my gratitude to all of you for coming out here today, my co-candidate for keeping the competitive spirit alive, and as well as the Elections Committee for organizing this whole debate. It feels not that long ago I was sitting in the Arc listening to Dean DeLuzio give a speech about how choosing Queens could have possibly been the best decision I've ever made in my life. A little bit after that, I heard a speech from a director of first year talk about this renowned spirit, unrivaled excellence motto that apparently perfectly described the engineering culture that is fostered in this faculty. Whether or not I believed this mysterious director of first year man or not, a couple months later, I was hired as his fifth go, one of two. All year, I was trusted to help organize a semi-formal for over 400 of my peers, with my only qualifications in high school involvement being that I played on the soccer team a couple of times. Little did I know that the amount of growth I would experience over the course of a couple months based purely off my drive to contribute to an optional extracurricular activity, and that I would meet some of my best friends playing Exploding Kittens at a ticket booth for this semi-formal I've been working on all year. Never would I have imagined feeling such a strong connection to the school community that I'm a part of, and never did I think I would keep coming back for more year after year after year. Fast forward a little bit more, I'm storming Grant Hall Pub, dressed up in purple, all crazy in a kilt, yelling at first years, and then within the next 2 months, I'm helping distribute physics cookies to all the first years to help relieve that little bit of stress that I felt when I was in first year, writing my first physics paper. Another year later, then I'm teaching those same first years how to be purple in kilts and screaming at first years in the Arc this time. A really big full circle moment throughout my journey being involved in this community. It taught me two things. The first is I need a better way to communicate yelling at first years is transferable in the job market. And the second is that these experiences I want to use these experiences that I had that I know many other people didn't to help improve the society that gave me them in the first place. When deciding for a run for president, I thought long and hard on what to build my platform on. Many conversations and personal reflection have guided me to run on 3 pillars based on academic advocacy, empowerment, and transparency, which I gathered from speaking to other people within the community and reflecting on my experience throughout my undergrad. Academic advocacy, this pillar revolves a lot around the Smith donation, especially since we changed our whole identity based on this donation. And so far, for me, I haven't seen much of what's going on, or I don't think the general student body really is aware where this money is going or how decisions are made regarding it. Currently, there's only 4 students, a part of a student liaison committee, that are speaking on part of the students for 9 different engineering departments, which doesn't really make sense. They're also selected by the faculty, which doesn't accurately represent student voices, and I feel like this is something that should be selected by us and choose the voices that we want to speak in on these conversations and have our body informed of this massive, massive change. My second pillar is on empowerment and focuses on reinforcing lower commitment roles with support, resources, and guidance to succeed. A lot of this came from my experience as a FIFCO because I was an anomaly and very eager to get involved and do as much as I can, and I've never been involved in school things before, and I just took that jump and put everything into it, but I know everyone's not like that. I know a lot of first years have struggles with the school workload and balancing that life, and I think we need to build more structures in place to support them to do what they want and make the most out of their time here at Queens, especially within the Engineering Society, because it's been so transformative for myself. My last pillar is transparency, which aims to inform more students about how NSOC's internal processes work. The 2 things that come to mind for me is hiring and counsel. Hiring is very stressful. Throughout high school, I was hired at the same job each summer, so I haven't done an interview in 4 years, which explains why I didn't get the first 3 positions I applied for. But eventually I got FIFCO, so it was all okay. I think we should have general resources just outlining the structure of the hiring and how to kind of format your answers to what the panel wants to hear, not based on your ideas, but to more fairly evaluate this technical gap that separates a lot of people that have never been involved and people that know people or are already involved in the society. Especially for council, clubs and design teams have a hard time getting ratifications or getting motions passed, and there's no reason that we should delay their motions for 2 weeks just because they didn't have the information available beforehand. I'm going to have plenty of time to talk about this today, so I'm really looking forward to expressing my ideas, what I have for the society, and answering any questions you have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for our 2 candidates for their openings. We will now move into the question period. So both of the candidates have submitted questions that they will ask each other and they will answer themselves. We will read those through first and then we will move into questions from the audience. So we'll start off with the first question from the candidate, which is, why should the student body believe that you are going to achieve the goals you've set out during your campaign? Each of our candidates will have 3 minutes to answer this question, and then they will both be offered the ability to rebut one of the other candidates. We'll alternate who starts answering the question. So Jordan, if you'd like to come up and answer.
So I really tried to construct my entire platform based on tangible ideas that can see results by the end of my presidency. I really wanted to leave an impact that would last beyond me being president for 1 year and carry on that momentum to increase involvement, increase growth throughout the community. For example, my pillars of academic advocacy, there's clear goals such as increasing the number of student liaisons sitting in on these meetings so our student voices for this massive donation is heard on any changes to any programs from people that are from those programs. Getting them selected by the students rather than appointed by the faculty, and as well as advertise their availability to the general student body through avenues we already have set up, such as DSCs. My empowerment pillar focuses on giving better transition materials to lower level positions just so they could really excel, and then also working on general resources and guides for newcomers just so there's less of a reliance on the person you're working under having the time to be able to help you every step of the way, and giving them a little bit of independence so if they have that eagerness, they can achieve the goals that they want and really make the most of their engineering society experience in whatever position they're in. It doesn't have to be a director, it could be the team of a director, and you could still do a lot with that position. And then finally, transparency, especially reflecting back on FREC interviews. It's a very transformative experience to sum it up briefly, but it was very heartbreaking to see a lot of FRECs that were applying, or FREC candidates applying, and they had the passion, but they didn't have the structure to their answers to really communicate how they felt and why they wanted the job properly. Unfortunately, they get marked and don't get, for me, my FREC experience was probably the most transformative thing I went through and something I hold really close to my heart, and it really sucks that they got evaluated on a rubric because they didn't know how NSHOP interviews were constructed in the first place. So I think for positions, especially like FREC, setting out resources just on like the situational questions, how to structure them. As Gofi Initiatives, I ran workshops that went over this, so this isn't hidden information, it's just not given to people in the public, especially outside of the general NSHOP. The general student body doesn't know these things exist. And I believe that's a barrier that we can absolutely take down and could open up the floor for more people getting involved overall. I'll wrap that up for now. I will likely talk more about this stuff later. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. A reminder that we're going to hold applause now until the end of the debate. We'll now hear a response from our second candidate.
So in response to why should the student body believe that you're going to achieve the goals set out in your campaign, I believe it's really important for us to first acknowledge that NSHOP and the way that it runs and the way that it operates is similar to a structure. So right now, when you're listening to presidential candidates, you're picking an individual, a person, to run a structure. So there's a bit of this like disconnect between these two things, and I think the idea that we're going to achieve goals will be set by how we're going to address this disconnect. And I think as an individual, if there's one point of failure, I'm one person. But if I enact a system, there's more than one point of failure, and now I'm relying on my peers to be able to do this. So the answer to this lies in my approach to creating a system in my time as president, if I were elected. But you don't have to believe me, you just have to believe in the system I want to build. one where everyone has a voice, where we work together to achieve these goals, and where we stay connected every step of the way. So firstly, in this, we would need clear communication. I believe in having consistent, open channels with both the faculty and the student body. I know how difficult it is to communicate things to a large group of people. That was me at the incoming students this summer. Multiple emails, multiple correspondences. It's not enough to talk to people about what we want to do and then leave them in the dark. I plan to implement regular check-ins with the student body and make sure expectations are clearly communicated, and that these check-ins are in multiple different forms, allowing any student to interact with them in a way that's suitable for them and accessible for them. This also would allow any issues to be flagged early so that they can be addressed before becoming a bigger problem. The second step to this system would be collaboration. It's always key. When I was orientation chair, I learned how important it was to work closely with the team and the larger community. And that's why I plan on building a strong, accountable leadership team if elected as president. One that's not just sitting in a room making decisions, but actively working with the other faculty societies even, and students, to make sure that we're aligned and working towards goals constantly. For example, this could look like establishing a cross-society meeting consistently to share ideas, collaborate on solutions, and ensure that we're not just reinventing the wheel. Third would be accountability. Every goal we set should have a clear, actionable plan to achieve it, and that we hold ourselves to this goal. If elected, I would produce a system or a process where directors' progress would be tracked through reviews, ensuring that we're on target, but also that we're unified in the goals that we're set out to achieve, and we feel supported the entire way. And finally, I would address engagement. This is where the students come in. We can't build a system meant for someone without their own input. That's why we need to ensure that we're always in tune with the student body's actual needs. And I won't just ask for feedback once, it would be continuous, and again, in a way that's accessible to everyone. These are the concrete steps that I'm proposing, and it's to make sure that the goals that we set can be achieved. So when I say I'll deliver on these goals, I'm not just making promises, I'm laying out a structure that will make these promises a reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your answers, candidates. The second question posed by a candidate is, as president, you will be responsible for overseeing a team of directors and supporting them in achieving their goals. How will you ensure that your team operates efficiently and meets their objectives? We will hear first from Jaya. Just quickly letting you all know that that was the opportunity to do rebuttals, but neither candidate would like to do a rebuttal, so we're moving on to the second question.
Great, so to address how we would ensure that the team operates efficiently and meets objectives, I'd like to start by saying that it's about finding a balance as president between guidance and trust, especially as a leader. It's about building these strong relationships. I believe that efficiency is born from clarity or collaboration. I'm sure we all understand that in MAUD. When all of our teammates are on the same page, things move a lot quicker. I'd replicate that here and in the way that we share a sense of purpose. So my first steps would be to establish a strong, open communication channel, once again, and set clear expectations. During my time as orientation chair, once again, I had a team. We created a structure, I believe, where everyone felt supported, but also empowered to take ownership of their own responsibility. I think that's the key to setting up a team of people that feel motivated to do their own work and meet deadlines in their own special way. I'd replicate that here by holding regular check-ins, not just tracking progress, but making sure that the directors feel heard and valued. I also believe in working with empathy. Challenges inevitably will arise, and when they do, it's important that we're not approaching them with blame, but rather with solutions. I'd help my team navigate obstacles by fostering a problem-solving mindset, sharing resources, and encouraging collaboration between portfolios. Lastly, I want to ensure that the team operates not just efficiently, but meaningfully. That means creating an environment where directors see their work and how it fits into the bigger picture, how their efforts contribute to enriching the engineering society as a whole. At the end of the day, I don't think leadership is just about doing everything yourself, obviously. It's about building a foundation where your team can succeed. And if elected, I will lead with the same values that shaped my time as OC last year: empathy, accountability, and gratitude for the incredible people that I work with. Because I could believe that we can achieve great things, but not when we stand alone, but rather together.
Thank you you very much. We will now hear the response from the second candidate.
When thinking about this question, I really reflected on my time on the Dopey team because I worked very, very close with last year's Dopey, Danny. And that was one of my pillars, was constructed on that experience, the empowerment pillar, especially when I was initiatives. It was the very first time initiatives was a position because the event portfolio for Dopey has become so large that it was easier to split up. And within this pillar, at its fundamental level, it's meant to expand the director's support networks to their team, so their team knows what they can do, knows how to do it, and they can get those jobs done to take the workload off of the director. And instead of having things pop up where, oh, a deadline was missed, and then they need to hop on that, and then work on their portfolio, they're the front-facing one, so if stuff goes wrong, it gets put on them. So giving the people within their team the tools to succeed and help them succeed and to grow is a really great way because they're already in place. And it's super important that directors, throughout their time, throughout their directorship, realize that it also has a management role in keeping up with your teams. That is a massive aspect of it, and they're not the person sending every single email, filling out every single AMS form. And then, in terms of making sure my directors, for their job, especially the people management aspect of it, is working with the person to their strengths. Not everyone's going to need the same amount of support, not everyone's going to want the same amount of check-ins. Kind of seeing the experience that they have had previously and how closely I'm going to have to work with them on simple things that they may have never done before, such as AMS forms. Also, for directors, there's built-in check-ins, static meetings, usually people call it, and it's super important to utilize these opportunities, not just to have a conversation casually with your directors, but separating that professional and workplace environment. So when you have your statics, you get everything out of the way, review, keep up with them, check in on their team, are they hitting their deadlines, and that kind of ties in when I was with Pre-Week, I attribute a lot of my success to my foresight and planning. Basically, during second semester, before the summer hit, I planned out all the stuff I wanted to hit, and it was very helpful for me. So I'd like to work with my directors to kind of, it won't be the exact same as how I did it, but working with them a process to make sure they can keep track of their deadlines and make sure they're getting all their tasks done on time. I'd also like to keep open feedback with them and their teams, because a lot of the times directors can get caught up at busy moments in their portfolios and take a lot away from their teams, and then it can be very discouraging, especially those entry-level positions, that all their work is being taken over and they're not really being checked in on. So I think going to those meetings, introducing my face and opening that avenue is just a great way to keep both sides of the story in check. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates, for your response to those questions. We will now have 1 or 2 minutes for you to submit questions if you want through the form for our presidential candidates. Please keep in mind that not every question you pose will be answered. I will choose specific questions to ask the candidates. All right, thank you everyone for your questions. The first question that has been selected is, as president, how will you work to increase first-year involvement and break the NSOC bubble? We will hear first from Jordan.
So as I previously addressed, a lot of the stuff I've built throughout my pillars is meant to break down the barriers that intentionally or not have been created within the engineering society. Especially, as I said, with hiring at lower level positions, it's really easy to talk to someone within the society that can give you tips to like game the interviews and get an easy in. Whereas if we make the information public, such as these are the questions that we ask, this is how you structure it, it's more based on your thoughts and ideas rather than the structure of your answers. For especially things like council that can be very intimidating to the outside, especially with first years, they don't really know what any of this is, and I think making this information public in some way can very greatly benefit the student body, especially ones that are getting involved in design teams. The first years are going to be the next generation of leaders, so it's really important that we have this information public to them. So when they talk about a council presentation, they can look into it for next year if they want to be design team leads, and so on. I know as well for higher level positions, it can get very, very competitive. And I think our hiring policy doesn't properly reflect how it should be structured, especially when you're getting to management roles and directorship roles. These take a lot of responsibility, and I don't think the question and answer format that we have works properly. The issue with this format is that in previous years, a lot of the questions don't get changed. The people hiring aren't fully transitioned into their roles yet and really know what they want. So someone getting coached through an interview could slightly outperform someone else that would be genuinely good at the job because of, especially management roles, their quick thinking skills. Just because someone else got coached, fed the answers, said it very well, and then they said a couple of answers, didn't really expand on it, and there's no conversation format. It's very dry and doesn't work for high responsibility positions. And then coming back to the first year stuff, like for me, 3 interviews didn't get my position, and then on the final one I got it, which was because it was very contested. And at no point during that process did someone really take me aside or send me resources that's like, hey, this is how you're supposed to structure your answers. This is what you can say better. There's things like interview reviews in place for that, but I feel like, especially for first years that may be a little bit more shy, it's a lot easier to have that resource public so they can do the research themselves, and if anything, they still get the professional development for their interviews rather than constricting it to going inside the bubble to search for that information.
Thank you very much. We will now hear from Jeff.
I'd like to address this question in 2 parts because they are related, but easier for me, less work. So we're going to start with involvement, how we're going to increase first-year involvement. I'm going to bring it back to that experience I touched on in the beginning, the idea of that incoming student that feels like they just don't fit in and it's the first day. The issue with this is that we're facing people with their own unique lived experiences coming to Queen's and not necessarily finding things that fit this rigid structure of an outgoing student who's able to participate in the classic opportunity that NSOC offers. So the first thing would involve people being able to find experiences that they can tailor to their own preferences. And I do think we offer quite a wealth of resources with this. So it would be more about publicizing those resources, making sure people know that you don't just have to be super involved in your first year, that you can actually build it up. You can start with something that's a bit more like clubs or design teams, and then you can decide that, okay, next semester, you know what, I'm going to be a bit more involved. I'm going to go for FREC. So this idea that there's more of a hierarchy to the way that you can get involved, rather than you're starting from nothing and you have to get lucky and get a really high position and then you can build up. I want to remove that. I want it to feel like there are more people that are connected to the society, even if it's in a small way, even if it's in a 1 meeting every month type of way. So increasing those type of involvement opportunities would be something that I feel would incline more people to kind of participate in society in a way that fits them. And then when it comes to the bubble, I always say, and by always I mean this week, that advocacy combats exclusivity. We're dealing with the Engineering Society, which is a structure that's been in place for many years, and it's worked well. But when it comes to structures, you can also face things that are systematic. So there's a reason why we keep talking about the bubble every single year, because it is as a result of the way that we've set up the Engineering Society. And I'm not saying that we tear everything down for a year only for it to come up next year. I'm saying that we understand that there is this systematic isolation of the so-called person who is shy or doesn't want to involve themselves or doesn't have many friends. And when we understand that that's a position that is less privy to be involved in opportunities, and we try to think of ways that we can benefit them or make things more equitable for them, it's no longer a bubble, it's more of a warm circle that anyone can be invited into. That sounded good. But the main thing I'm trying to get at is that there are ways for things to be more equitable and accessible, but it starts with having the voices of those people who feel like it's that way involved as change makers in our world, and that can only happen if, number one, we're aware of them, and number two, there's an easy way for their thoughts and voices to reach us. And that's not saying that this shy person needs to come up to the president of the Engineering Society. I'm saying that they just need to tell a friend who knows a friend who knows a friend who's involved in this sort of thing that we've kind of set up that knows the president of the Engineering Society. So it's all about who we know and the connections we make and ensuring that people can make those connections easily. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates, for your responses to that question. The next question, which we'll hear from Jaya first, is: the president acts as a representative of engineering students to the AMS, other faculty societies, and the faculty itself. Where do you see our relationship with external groups, and how do you plan to work with these groups? My apologies, we have a rebuttal on the previous question, which was how will you work to increase first-year involvement and break the NSHLAC bubble? You have one free rebuttal.
I agree with a lot of what my co-candidate said, and it made me think about, especially when I was in first year, the post-lockdown shift. There was a very big push on getting all of our resources out constantly on social media, and I feel like that's something we've lost in the past 2 years. There's like a fraction of the postings for job, or like the opening opportunities. And we really need to refine these systems and use these avenues and build them back up to what they were, so people outside of the bubble know about the resources, especially first years, because right now it seems like unless they already know about it, they're not going to go out of their way to.
Yeah, for sure. The original question was, as president, how will you work to increase first-year involvement and break the NSHLAC bubble? No response, sorry. There's no response to that rebuttal, so we'll move on to the second question. Thank you. The second question is, the president acts as a representative of engineering students to the AMS, other faculty societies, and the faculty itself. Where do you see our relationship with external groups, and how do you plan to work with these groups?
So this is kind of a lot of what I did over the summer with Jack in terms of external groups, because they like to have a finger in our OWEEK somehow, and we let them somehow. But when it came to these meetings, actually one's happening right now. It's the meeting with other AMS societies, and it's my lower heirs who's in it right now. I know that it was important to approach these meetings with an open mind. We understand that the other faculty societies run things in a different way, but at the same time, they're dealing with students who arise and encounter the exact same problems that our students do. So it's important to start with this common base that we have and understand that that doesn't really separate us from them. And then further from that, of course, that's in the relation of OWEEK, but further from that, when we're dealing with them in sort of professional settings, I think it's really important for us to maintain ourselves in a way where we're professional, of course, but we're also addressing things in a way that is efficient, right? In a way that reflects the values that the society holds. And that when we're at these meetings, again, we're making sure that our point is coming across, because it's something that beforehand we were united as a society on, so it's easy for us to come and present. That any individual, not just someone who has the so-called politically trained, media trained, anyone should be able to talk when it comes to any of these cross-society or cross-faculty meetings. because at the end of the day, we are discussing the same thing, which is students, and we do have their best value in mind. Thank you.
I'm happy to repeat the question. The president acts as a representative of engineering students to the AMS, other faculty societies, and the faculty itself. Where do you see our relationship with these external groups, and how do you plan to work with them?
I think our society here at Queen's, within Queen's as engineering and as well as externally at conferences as Queen's Engineering, have a lot of eyes on us. We are the most involved engineering department in Canada. There's no other engineering departments that have the scale of budgets we have and the scale of involvement that we have. So it's really important, even with interacting with smaller societies, that we are present at these meetings and show up and listen to their voices to show that we care. Because even small decisions as skipping a meeting for someone from, say, a smaller AMS group really says a lot, especially at the scale that we're operating at. So it's really important to go into these conversations as another peer, because a lot of these people, especially within the AMS, are students as well. And we're all just here to have a great time, make the most out of our university experience. Extending that to conferences and engineering schools across Canada, Queen's is very, very ahead in terms of our development within our society, and it's really important that we interact with these schools and give our advice and be leaders at these conferences to help them build up their structures, because at the end of the day, engineering is a team sport. We're all on the same team, and there's no reason to think less of another school just because they're not at where we are currently. I also think, especially with the faculty, there's a lot of opportunity to work with each other. Having that relationship between the students, the staff, and the faculty all at the same time, especially coming off of the Big Smith donation, it's really important that we have this community-led attitude that they pitched for all these program changes because of this donation, to strengthen those bonds by getting our true voices in those meetings, as well as training the representatives in those meetings to know how to speak with adults, because it is very different. And I imagine as adults speaking with students, it could seem kind of silly listening to what we have to say about $100 million that was given to them. So I think cooperation on both sides and maturity throughout these conversations to build those bridges and to build those bonds and trust over time can just make it easier for the people after us to do a lot more and just, again, be leaders in the engineering schools, or be leaders as one of the top involvement engineering schools in Canada.
We'll now move on to the next question. In terms of goals, some of your goals mentioned relate to council, which falls under the Director of Governance under the BPSA, or other directors and other groups. How will you collaborate with your fellow execs to ensure all of your goals are met? We'll first hear from Jordan.
Especially with how our structure is created, it's not like many other universities where president is the peak of the triangle. The peak of the triangle is split between 4 people. That's Prez, BPFA, BPOps, and BPSA. So it is important that when making decisions, especially for me, I'm very passionate about things such as council, to collaborate with the other vice presidents. And that comes with, once all of us are hired, getting into a meeting and clearly defining goals and making sure we're all on the same page to work efficiently as possible. Especially with how busy school is and how busy the year can be when directors are running events, it is very important that we're on the same page right away so no rifts occur during the middle of the year. And I think approaching those directors and bringing the idea up, if that's something they're interested in doing, would be fantastic. Like, the executive is a big team, and upon the executive, you have the directors under you, you're all a big team. And it's all about collaboration, because especially things such as council, maybe the director of first year's input and their team could be helpful for people for the first years which know nothing about council. everything is a team effort, but at the end of the day, you're giving these tasks to directors to spearhead them. That doesn't mean they're going to be doing all the work for them. Engineering is a team sport, and we're all a big team. Especially here at Queen's, there's no stronger community in Canada, and it is important that we keep that embodied, especially when dividing our workloads amongst the directors. If anyone has any ideas, it's important we at least pitch those ideas to the directors below us, and then work together on finding solutions on how to make it better.
Thank you very much. We will now hear from Jaya.
So when it comes to addressing any changes with the portfolios of any of our directors and making sure that these goals are met, I think it all starts with the groundwork that we lay before we even start to make changes to what's existing. We need to make sure that the people involved in this all have a united front when it comes to the goals, so that when we're in the thick of things, when the changes are becoming difficult, we're self-motivated to see it to the end. And this can only happen once we're all in unison with what we want to achieve from these goals. And we're making sure that these goals, or these changes that we're making, are aligned with the vision that we started with. And I think vision is really the key word. It has been for me this past year, and I think it will continue to be next year as well. When we have people that have vision for their portfolios, who want to make change because they see a better version of what they're just about to be involved in, those are the people that we really want at the head of these initiatives. I think making sure that each director and their own self-motivated vision is supported by the executive would be the best way to make these changes when it comes to policy or council or any of the mentioned directors. I also believe that council, which I went to once because I passed a motion once and it was fun, is something that we are using well now, but definitely can be used better. But I think that would again come to the idea that used better is subjective, right? It really depends on the type of things that we're trying to move that year and the type of goals that we come in with. And I would not be, and I bet my exec, if elected, would not be the person to make that call. Because of course, the call we would make is that we were supporting the director who is hired to that role. So when it comes to making sure goals are met, the two most important things I believe in is finding people who have a vision, and that vision and passion speaks through them, and making sure that we are a team that's able to support that. And I feel like that's enough to lead us to where we want to go. Thank you.
Is there any rebuttals? We'll now move on to the next question, which I will choose right now. All right, the question is, how will you find the balance between pushing contentious issues and maintaining relationships, whether it's internally or with external bodies such as the faculty? You will hear from Jaya first.
I kind of mentioned this in the beginning, but I think the type of leader that we need nowadays is someone who is willing to rock the boat, someone who's willing to challenge the status quo. And it doesn't mean that we're contesting every single thing that's thrown at us. What I really think it means is that we're staying true to the goals, motivation, and vision that we set in the beginning. We kind of faced this summer with O Week. We had the idea of what we wanted to happen, and we had other people's ideas of what they wanted to happen. Of course, neither one of us was going to get our complete way. I don't think that would have been a good solution to it. At the end of the day, what worked best is we stood by our morals. We understood exactly why we were pushing these opinions. So it's kind of like we had to work our way backwards. We had what we wanted to say to them, and we had the reason that we wanted this. And keeping that reason close to us, we made sure that that was what we found compromise based on. So I think when it comes to having to make changes, having to rock the boat a bit, it's easy to maintain these relationships when you both understand that this change is coming from the same place most likely. And if it isn't, that's the area where you should make a compromise. Not with this end statement that maybe could hurt feelings, but rather with this idea that you both want something to change, and why do you want it is probably the same reason. And if it isn't, how can you get to the same area? So keeping up relationships again is making sure that in these communications that you do send out, you aren't really quick to make statements immediately or quick to invalidate things that other people are saying. I think that goes for anything, but especially in this case when you're representing more than just yourself. You're representing most likely possibly a director or a group of people or a committee. It's important for you to stay neutral in this way and encourage discussion around things, not just a straight objective answer. Because I believe, truly, that most people want the same type of good change that affects students in the best way possible. And that it's about getting to this and understanding this on top of all layers of communication or riffraff that can really create these, like, quote-unquote negative relationships. Yeah.
We'll now hear from Joy. I would love to repeat the question. How will you find the balance between pushing contentious issues and maintaining relationships, whether it's internally or with external bodies such as the faculty?
As I mentioned a little bit briefly before, there are a lot of eyes on us as Queens, as engineering in Queens and as Queens Engineering externally. It's important to think of both sides when approaching any issue. And okay. Yeah, it's important on taking both sides. It's important on contextualizing the problem on, let's say, for example, the faculty wants and what the student body wants. And especially as president, it is your number one duty, no matter what goals I've written on my page here and I have been giving to you all throughout tonight. The number one thing is maintaining our student status and upholding all the stuff that we love currently, and making sure faculty and other bodies don't bully us and push us over just because we are students and they think our voice may not be as important. Even though we want to work with them, sometimes they are malicious and we do have to fight back. But it's important to do this professionally. A lot of times, they might know what they're doing and try and push us aside, but we have to stand our ground and get the student input and raise awareness of any issues or big pushbacks going on that are trying to infringe on the things that we value within our community, whether that be NSOC, whether that be our schooling or changes to our program, department cuts, whatever it is. We have to speak up, even if they are difficult conversations. It's important to gather the input of what the student body wants, what our exec wants, get the opinion of as many people that it's affecting as we can, and just providing that information to the body, pushing back on us, giving them our side, because that's the best we could do at the end of the day. We have to protect what we've built up for so many years and what many alumni and we are going to think about years in the future when we're coming back for HOCO in 50 years on all the stuff that we maintain and the amazing traditions and community that we have built up here at Queens. No matter what the conversation is, we must stand our ground, be respectful, and get both sides of the story.
That was the last question we will be accepting for these candidates, and they will now both each have another 5 minutes to state their closing statements. We'll first hear from Jordan.
I'd like to thank all of you for coming out here today. I am a little bit rusty coming out of pre-week. Presentations have been about 4 months previously gone, but I really want to say I really do care about the Queens community so deeply. It has given me so much. As I said, from first year I was involved as a FIPCO. It was probably one of the most transformative things ever. And I could have also just been like, oh, my grades during school were dropping, and I don't need to focus on the semi-formal. My mentor would have picked it up for me, but I still kept pushing just because of the sense of community, and I've gained so much from it. And I really care about pushing this community forward, and I hope the changes that I'm able to make, as long as not too many fires come up if I become president, that they last beyond my term and far into the future, and push that momentum of increasing our bridges with the faculty, with the student body, connecting with people outside of the NSOC bubble, affecting them positively outside the NSOC bubble, even if they don't want to be involved, but just making sure that our voices are heard, and no matter what, you can make your undergrad whatever you want by using us at the Engineering Society, because we are all peers. We are here to grow and develop and become amazing engineers in the future. So Those are some of the values I hold very closely when I was making a lot of these pillars, and I do want to make tangible changes that can stick in the long run, be reiterated, and just overall contribute positively to the student body. That is it for me for tonight. Thank you so much for coming out and listening to me talk. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear the closing statements from Jeff.
So after that debate, I was wondering when the last question would be, and I'm glad it came now because my mouth's getting really dry. But I stand here reflecting on everything that we've discussed about leadership, tradition, and the future of our engineering society. I'm kind of reminded of why I got involved in the first place. What I learned in the last year through every challenge and every success is the true value of the community that we have here and how much we can grow together, how much we can accomplish when we lift each other up, share ideas, and work towards something bigger than ourselves. I'm not going to tell you that the society will magically improve once you elect one of us, but I can tell you that I would be the leader who would listen to you and work with you to build the engineering society that we all want. I've come to realize that engineering society is more than just an organization. It's a living, breathing entity because it's made up of individuals with unique stories, ideas, and aspirations. And when we come together, we have the power to create something truly remarkable. I believe in our strength because it lies in our diversity and the richness of every single experience that we bring to the table. But all above, the engineering society may be about creating a culture of trust. Trust that your voice matters and that your leadership is valued. Trust that the society will always be a place for you to express your passions and to take on new challenges and grow personally and professionally. That's what I would like this society to feel like. I'm not here to maintain a status quo like mentioned before. I want transformation. We don't need to settle for what's always been done because we have the power to change things, and it's really important that we believe that. A little more than a year ago, I sat in front of a panel unsure of where my path would be. I could have never imagined that I'd be standing here today, but that's what this community does. It challenges you and pushes you out of your comfort zone. It helps you grow into the person that you're meant to be. Just like I found my place here, I believe everyone deserves a community where you can find yours. If I'm elected, I would lead with that same sense of growth and possibility, because I don't just want to lead the society, I want to build it. We have the power to shape something really special, and I think we can do that together. I ended that interview I was talking about in the beginning by taking my hat off and pulling a rabbit out. I then found out that Aiden and Sophia were allergic to rabbits, which was really drastically bad. Actually, I don't remember how that ended. I'm sure Sophia can tell you. I don't remember at all. But I do remember how I'm going to end this speech because it's with a thank you. So, thank you, everyone. Pardon? My rabbit? It's actually a cat. Turns out. Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you both to our presidential candidates for coming out here tonight and for a wonderful debate. We will now have a few minutes of transition. Thank you very much for saying what I was saying, but politer. Thank you for saying what I was saying, but less polite, so I seem politer? Yeah. All right, thank you very much. We'll now start the junior senator debates. All of our candidates will have 5 minutes to do their opening speeches.
Hello everyone, good evening. I'd like to thank you all for coming out here to our wonderful debate. My name is Valentine, and as you already know, I'm running for junior senator. I'd like to tell you a bit about my past and why the experience that I have and why you should trust me with your vote. Throughout high school, I was involved in student council, and in my last year, grade 12, before I came here, I was nominated for an opportunity to represent my high school at my school board when the official board meetings and stuff. So I got to sit on a committee, the EDIR committee, and work with the Director of Education, the superintendents, and the board of trustees to develop policies to benefit all the students at St. Michael's Catholic Secondary School, as well as all the students that are students of the Huron Catholic District School Board. So that's just a bit of an overview of my past experience at admin job or in a context like this, where I'll be sitting at the grown-up table, advocating and representing my peers for their betterment, for our betterment collectively. With the Senate, there are 3 things that I've seen thrown around currently, 3 things that I believe in when it comes to this. That would be advocacy, transparency, and increased participation from the students. But the problem I have with these words is that people tend to use them just as buzzwords. They say, hey, look at me, I care about advocacy. Or I care about transparency. Then they get elected, and then they do nothing. They use this platform as sort of a resume boost to say, oh, I was a senator. That's it, I actually didn't advocate or do anything. But my vision for this year and next year as well as your serving senator would be to actively work with and collaborate with MSOG, and specifically the communications director, so as to bring information from the Senate and the faculty board, as well as MSOG, the society council meetings, to all engineering students from faculty. Moreover, more seriously than this actually, than not surface level issues, but simple buzzword use of words like advocacy and transparency, are real issues that the actual Senate are currently going through right now. As I'm sure you're all aware, there's currently a severe budget deficit within the university, and we're not necessarily in crisis mode, but there's a lot going on within the Senate. Currently, as you all saw last November with the QGA protest, dealing with funding for graduate students and how the Senate reacts to that, everything ranging from protests from students to actually glitter bombing the Senate themselves, and trying to make deals and pass motions to better help our community. Moreover than that, and more pressing for us engineering students, are the current proposed tuition increases. Unbeknownst to most students here, the Senate is actually currently planning to increase the tuition of out-of-province and international students drastically over these next coming years, or I should say these next coming terms, so as to, in an attempt to combat these internal financial strife. But in doing so, they've also promised to dramatically increase the amount of engineering students in the program, which on the surface level sounds like a good thing, and that's an ideal for us, right? We need to grow as a community and accept more students. But when you look at issues like what I had to go through this past fall semester, where I walked into my APSU 111 class, and my favorite professor of all time, Professor Noble, had to address the class and say, I'm sorry, they seem to have enrolled too many students, so we're having classes in Dunning Hall, and I can't do my demos anymore, because he's accustomed to teaching that class in Sterling Hall. But because the Senate decided that they would rather increase the tuition and increase the students to make more money, we sort of semi-compromised the quality of our education last semester. Moreover, there's also more issues dealing with the teaching staff as well. If the Senate is electing or voting to increase the number of students, what about the TAs or the professors? Because currently, in a class that I'm in, there's actually like dramatically less TAs and remarkably, unassumingly like long waiting times to wait to get help in class. So how are we supposed to trust the quality of our education? These people who seem to making decisions where we don't seem to be voicing our concerns.
You have 30 seconds.
Thank you. All I would like to say to you in closing would be to vote for effective and experienced leadership. There's a lot of problems here, and it's not to scare you by saying there are a lot of problems. It's just that there's a lot of things we need to be aware of, and we need to work towards solving these goals by involving all the students. Thank you.
You can clap. Thank you very much. We'll now hear from our second head.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paige Shakran, a first year. I'm here today because I am passionate about representing the voices of students and fostering positive change and progress within Queens. As junior senator, I would bring a strong dedication, work ethic, collaboration, and advocacy to the role, ensuring that the concerns and perspectives of the entire engineering student body are heard and acted upon at the Senate level. I believe my qualifications align seamlessly with the responsibilities of this position. My experience in leadership roles has taught me how to effectively communicate and collaborate with diverse groups of people and with diverse opinions. Over the years, I have obtained critical and organizational and problem-solving skills through school and many commitments and responsibilities in sports, clubs, councils, volunteering, you name it. These have all allowed me to navigate complex discussions and to contribute meaningfully to communities and teams. Furthermore, my commitment to academic excellence and equity positions me to actively support initiatives and enhance academic and social experiences for all students across the faculty. As junior senator, I will strive to bridge the gap between students and university governance, ensuring transparency and advocating for decisions that reflect the true needs and values of our community, however diverse they may be. I believe that everyone has the right to consistently know what overhead decisions are being made that affect them, and that everyone has the right to the same accessibility. Therefore, I am not only prepared to represent your voice, but to also actively listen and adapt to ever-changing challenges facing our student body. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to represent such a wonderful faculty, and together we can create a stronger, more inclusive Queens experience. Thank you.
We will now hear from our third candidate.
Good evening, everyone. Before I that's good. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Before I start, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I want to thank Madeline, the speaker, for her time, and the Elections Committee for organizing this debate. Now, I'd like you all to pause for a moment and reflect on this question. What does it mean to have your voice truly heard? For me, having a voice means more than just being listened to. It means knowing that your thoughts, concerns, and ideas all spark action. It means seeing real changes that reflect what matters most to you. And that's why I'm here tonight. My name is Allie Van Buren, and I'm running to be your junior senator because I believe our voices, the voices of engineering students, shouldn't just be part of the conversation, they should help lead it. I want to share a little about who I am and why I'm so passionate about representing you. I'm in my first year at Queens, and already I've had the privilege of serving as your Psi 28 Faculty Board Representative, voting member of your exec, communications outreach officer, Bed Fund rep, and a brand ambassador for CEO. Through these roles, I've gained hands-on experience advocating for students, working alongside senators, and collaborating with NSHOC to make meaningful decisions that directly impact all of us. But experience alone doesn't make a great senator. What truly matters is my determination, my die-hard passion for this community, my commitment to action, and my focus on all of you. I'm someone who doesn't just say I'll do something, I follow through. If you have a concern or an idea, I promise it won't go in one ear and out the other. I take it really seriously, and I will do everything in my power to make it happen. Here's how I plan to approach this role. First, I will prioritize listening and engagement. I'll actively seek input through surveys, social media platforms, and direct conversations so I can represent your views accurately. Second, I will promote transparency. You deserve to know what's happening in Senate, and I'm sure to communicate clearly and regularly, keeping you informed every step of the way. Third, I will push for real change. Representation isn't just about talking, it's about action. Whether it's advocating for better mental health resources or supporting student initiatives, I'll fight for what matters most for you. I want you to know that this campaign isn't about me at all, it's about us. It's about taking your ideas, your goals, and your concerns and turning them into meaningful change. My vision as junior senator is simple: to amplify your voices, advocate for your needs, and build a better Queens for all of us. My goal isn't to be a senator who simply talks about making a difference. My goal is to be a senator who actually makes that difference. Thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions.
We will now hear from our fourth candidate.
I think so. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Dala, or Dala Shawebka, and I won't lie to you, I'm very nervous right now. But what gives me the confidence is seeing all the friends I've made so far here to support me. And that's kind of why I'm here today. I care about three main things: our community, connection within it, and advocacy. But what does advocacy mean to me? So far,
All right, we're going to start on the first of the questions. So, each of our senator candidates will have the option to answer the question. They'll have 3 minutes to answer the question, and then we will get into rebuttals if they're asked for. So the first question for our junior senator candidate is, what specific goals would you like to accomplish during your time as junior senator? Would you like to come up first and answer? Okay. You'll have 3 minutes to answer the question.
So, what specific goals would I like to accomplish as a junior senator? Well, my plan actually started on day 0 because one thing that I learned from this election period is how there's a severe lack of communication between anything and everything to do with NSOT and engineering students. So, if elected, literally like day 0, I would hopefully be trying to meet with the director of communications and correspond with NSOT as a senator-elect to bring about a bigger avenue of information, like a bigger flow of information towards the students, whether it be through the pre-existing social media platforms that NSOT has already developed over these last few years. But my initial goal would be essentially to make students more aware of what's happening at this university for their own well-being, and then going forward from there, it would be accurate and equitable representation of all student groups, so as when decisions are made within the Senate, students are aware of what's happening to them. That's all.
Thank you very much. We will now hear from our second junior senator candidate.
As junior senator, I would focus on the 3 specific and impactful goals during my term. First, I would work to enhance student representation in policy making by creating strong feedback between students and Senate through forums, surveys, newsletters, social media. It truly is endless. My main goal is to ensure students feel directly connected to decisions being made on their behalf, and their concerns are reflected in decisions in Senate. Second, I would advocate for mental health and academic wellness by advancing initiatives and access to mental health resources. And third, I would work to promote sustainability initiatives and advocate for policies that integrate sustainability into the operational framework here at Queens.
We will now hear from our third candidate.
Okay, so my goal is to make sure all engineering students are heard. And let me tell you a bit why I think that. So I think to start off, ensuring that all students' voices are heard starts with being approachable and accessible. I will actively engage with students through multiple channels, including surveys, social media, and direct conversation. It's important to create spaces where students feel comfortable sharing their thoughts, whether that's in person or online. Something that I really want to implement as a senator, if elected, is the use of social media. So I think that, well, I know that all of the minutes from Senate and faculty board meetings are broadcasted to the public, but I know that most of us probably don't look at them, and even though that we probably should. So I think something that I want to start doing is kind of summarizing everything that we get from faculty board and Senate and making a post about it on social media. Something that's very easy to read, something that people are interested in, and something that people feel that they can now trust the senators, and not that they don't right now, but that they can trust the senators and maybe DM, comment, something that they can do to voice their concerns, voice their passions, their interests, anything that they want to kind of speak to us about. So I think that's a good way to communicate with senators, and that's something that I want to do, and I think that's something that can really encourage everyone to speak out and have their voices heard. I also want to work closely with MSOC and other student representatives to stay connected to different groups within our faculty. By collaborating with clubs and design teams and equity-seeking groups, I can better understand the diverse perspectives and challenges that students face. Lastly, I believe in transparency and follow-through. If a student brings up a concern, I'll not only listen, but I'll also update them on how I'm addressing it. When students see action, they're more likely to share their ideas and trust the process. My goal is to be a representative who truly reflects the needs and ambitions of every engineering student. Thank you.
Candidates, thank you for your responses. Is there any rebuttals to the question? If you have none, you can just say no. No. Amazing. We will now move on to our second question, which Paige will answer first. The question is, how will you effectively collaborate with other faculty senators while ensuring the engineering faculty is being well represented?
Firstly, I believe that building strong relationships with faculty members and other Senate members is incredibly important in creating a foundation where we can all share opinions in the Senate, as well as take the feedback that's given and truly make change with that. To make sure that the engineering faculty is properly represented, I believe it is critical to foster meaningful and professional relationships with members of other faculties to work together to represent the student community as a whole. And the junior senator role is an excellent opportunity to do this through. It is important that we all remember that we have a common goal and focus on collaboration and advocating for students across the broader Queen's University community. And getting a broad and diverse amount of opinions through all the different faculties is a really important way to do this.
We will now hear from Alec.
So my approach to this would center around communication, collaboration, and advocacy. So first, communication, I would prioritize open communication with the engineering community. I will actively seek input from other engineering students, faculty, and other MSOC members to fully understand the issues that matter most to us. This ensures I bring diverse and unique perspectives to Senate meetings. Second, I'll focus on building relationships with other senators. For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge people's person. I absolutely love to talk to people. I love to introduce myself, and I just like to yap, I guess. But I love making new friends, and I love connecting with whoever I can. I've been fortunate enough to make relationships with the dean and other faculty members, as well as the current senators. These relationships involve open communication, and they are role models for me when I am looking for help. By making relations with other senators in different programs, it allows me to bring transparency to Senate, teamwork, and open communication. I also know that there's this thing, I might butcher how you say it, but it's called caucus, I think. And that's a thing where the senators meet, all of the senators from all of the different programs, they meet and they get to talk to ensure that they get to be more transparent at Senate and that they're all kind of on the same page. So at these meetings, I would love to make better relationships and kind of just get to know one another and make sure that I'm being honest and transparent, because that will lead them to trust me as well. Lastly, I want to advocate for our faculty. This faculty, these students, is what comes first to me, and it always will be. It would be my job to represent the engineering student body as a whole, and that means I have to advocate for them, their needs, their education, and their academics before all else. Whether it's defending our interests or finding ways to compromise without compromising the Smith engineering values, I'll work tirelessly to achieve desired outcomes for the program. Ultimately, my goal is to act kind of like a bridge, connecting engineering students in the Senate in a way that amplifies our voice and ensures our needs are not just heard, but addressed as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear from Valentine.
My approach to collaboration with other senators and other faculty senators, we start with building relationships with them, because at the end of the day, in every single project that we've worked on, every single friendship or relationship we've had, the basis of all any capacity of collaboration is being in relation with each other, having that confidence and comfortability where you can talk and just be open to each other's ideas and to each other's willingly. When it comes to the engineering faculty here, how I'll ensure our representation be through equitable representation and allowing diverse voices to be heard. As I'm sure you already know, our current junior senator, Jen Drew, is a brilliant electrical engineering student. She is someone that I personally admire. She is just awesome. She's done a great job so far serving our community. And if given the opportunity to collaborate with her, I would also like to advocate for and represent all the diverse forces in our community, ranging from NSBE to the Indigenous students, the LGBTQ community here, and of course, every male and female student has accurate and equitable representation in Congress and at the Senate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, candidates, for your responses to this question. We will now move on to the next question, which Ali will answer first. The question is, what issues/problems are you planning on tackling? In other words, why are you running for office?
So I've actually seen a lot of problems within the engineering community, or just things that I would like to make better, not necessarily fix, but maybe make better. But the one that I want to highlight tonight is the problem of the many underdescribed disciplines. Now, faculty has raised solutions to create direct streams into Smith Engineering. I don't know if you've seen from faculty board, but that's something that they're currently discussing. But I and many other members on NSOC think that that is not the only way to go. I was recently able to be in a meeting with some other NSOC members and one of the vice deans to address this issue. We discussed how disciplines like Chem-Eng, mining, geo, and civil are underdescribed and reasons for why that might be. I believe that Mech and Comp are popular because that is what first-year students are being catered to during their academics. In first-year classes, we have many computer labs. Yes, we have chem and physics labs through 102, but these labs don't really focus on the actual physics engineering jobs or what an actual chemical engineer would do. Also, 101 projects are tended to look upon as a mechanical-based project. Even though there might be parts that are civil and chemical, students aren't really aware as they aren't really told that. Anyways, this was recently brought up at council, but if faculty did want to go through with the idea of direct streams, this item would have to be brought up this item would have to be brought up to pass at Senate. I can confidently tell you that I would not just fight to not let this happen, but I would propose and implement new solutions such as having a broader range of discipline labs like a civil lab or an Eng-Phys lab, a geo lab, stuff like that. I hope that this would give students a better look on what a job of each discipline actually entails instead of the sort of gray area that we are currently in. Thank you.
We will now hear from Valentine.
Hello, again. So when it comes to issues such problems that we're planning to tackle, I kind of already alluded to all of these in my opening, but essentially, there's a lot of problems currently that the university is currently facing and dealing with, and if elected to office, that's what my end goal would be, dealing with everything from the deficit within the budget and ensuring that the university doesn't, I guess, cut our legs off from us as engineering students and risk the quality of our education in the process of their budget saving measures. Moreover than that, as Saitun is very well aware, within our universe, we allude to the $100 million that Stephen Smith recently donated, or relatively recently donated to the university. When, or if sat on the faculty board, one thing I would spend a little time contemplating or working with is figuring out how to ethically and how to basically get that money across to the faculty to help students. How we can use that money to help all of us here at the engineering faculty. That would be the plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now hear from Paige.
So I believe that I touched on this question earlier in my introduction and to what I would tackle. But I'd just like to add to that by saying that my proactive approach to connecting students and understanding their concerns is believing that it's not just about listening, but also taking tangible action to address the issues that we face. For example, I would implement regular feedback sessions where students can share their ideas directly with me, ensuring that their voices are represented and authentically represented in Senate discussions. And I would prioritize building a two-way communication bridge between students and the Senate. And this means going beyond emails and surveys. And I would organize senator office hours in common spaces like the ILC to talk directly to students about their concerns and ideas. Additionally, I'd like to use creative platforms like social media polls and interactive forums to gather real-time feedback. By fostering open-ended communication, I'd ensure that students don't just feel represented, that they feel empowered as well. I also believe that advertising what is going on in the Senate and the decisions that are currently being made is also incredibly important in the communication bridge between the students and the Senate. So as junior senator, I would help to bridge that and to increase advertising so students know what is going on and what they can do about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates. We will now hear from me when I tell you what the next question is. And it's going to be Valentine who answers this. Okay. All right, here's the question. Senate can be a high-pressure environment with a lot of powerful people discussing the university's academic environment. How do you plan to stay true to your pillars and speak for the best interests of students under that kind of scrutiny?
Quite frankly, to stay true to the students, I'm just going to give you a simple phrase that I know pretty well, but it's to serve and not be served. So in the context of working in the Senate, like, I wouldn't be working necessarily for my personal interests, I'd be working for them, the students. So to stay true to them, it would literally be me advocating the best to speak on their behalf. It's nothing about my personal wants and needs, it's about representing all the students and what you guys want and what you need. So prospects of working in the Senate and answering this question is basically acting as your vessel at the Senate. Thank you.
We will now hear from Paige.
I recognize that the Senate can be intimidating, but I choose to view it as an opportunity to advocate for students with confidence and with conviction. I'm not afraid to voice what the students truly want to be said. To anchor myself in my pillars, which are advocacy, communication, community, and sustainability, I will consistently remind myself of my end goals and core values. And that this is not about me, I'm just a medium in which the faculty, which is viewed up here, and the students, which are viewed down here, to bridge that gap between us. Realistically, we are a team working together, and any challenges that are met, any challenges that arise are to be met ethically and professionally. Thank you.
We will now hear from Allie.
So I definitely agree that Senate can be a high-pressure environment, but a high-pressure environment is where diamonds form. So I think that this is an opportunity to amplify students' voices even more. By staying true to my pillars of advocacy, empowerment, and transparency, I would ensure that decisions I support are always in the best interest of the students. Being transparent leads to trust and communication. Conflict in Senate can lead to miscommunication. As long as I continue to navigate conversation with positivity, transparency, and strong communication, I believe that I can keep the environment calm and collected. It's also important to continue advocating for your people, the Smith engineers, even in the face of scrutiny. In the end, it's better to compromise on certain issues than compromise the values of the program and students themselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now have a minute for everyone to submit questions to the junior senator candidates if you want. There are QR codes that are posted, and Chloe will come around. Very nice.
As soon as I found NSOC and all of the wonderful people in it, I knew that I found my home here, and I knew that I wanted to grow in it and get a lot of different experiences along the way through my 4 years. So I've already had a lot of time to be able to work on my time management skills along with school. I know that the jump from high school having like 4 classes to having 9 classes has been not the most fun, but it's been something that I've taken seriously, and again, I just want to reiterate that this is something that I'm really passionate about. So having, if elected as senator, and then also having schoolwork, it's something that I would like put time into. I would take away my personal life if I have to for this, because it feels like my personal life, honestly. But yeah, so I hope that resonates with you, but thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear from Valentine.
Whenever I talk to people about like what the most important thing is when it comes to engineering, because I have a lot of friends that are definitely like pretty involved right now. It's not necessarily academics. I always tell them that time management is, and that's just because when you manage your time, you're free to do whatever you want to do, and you can get involved in other research at university. Because you always call them text about what you do. Right? So, as a senator, well, actually, I'll give you an anecdote before I tell you what else I say. Right now, I currently have 3 projects that are due this coming Sunday, all of which I technically completed like 2-3 days ago, because the way I manage my time doing things like WebWorks and maths and physics is like getting ahead of things almost. So I don't like to wait for deadlines until the last minute. I like to be proactive in things that I do. So when it comes to time management as a senator, that's ideally what I would do. Balancing between being a student and being a senator. So reading motions or writing motions and getting involved in the community at large. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates. Any rebuttal? Okay, good. We're now going to move on to the last question of the evening before closing statements. We will start with Alan. Okay. The question is, considering the wide array of people you may interact with, including many high-level Queen's staff, how do you plan to present yourself and the engineering students well?
Okay, so I'm someone who's always prided myself on being a really friendly and positive person. I truly think that having a positive mindset will get you anywhere in life, anywhere that you want to go, because power of positivity is just so important and something that really resonates with everybody. So that's how I would plan to present myself with like faculty, deans, principal. Just like knowing. I also want to be transparent with them. I want to be truthful, because being truthful brings trust, and I want them to be able to trust me with large deals like this, as we're talking about a lot of heavy subjects at Senate and faculty board. In terms of engineering students, interacting them, just making sure that they can always come to me with anything that they have on their mind, any concerns, any interests. I will love to hear about it. I will keep them updated along the way. So yeah, thank you.
We will now hear from Valentine.
I would plan to present myself and engineering students, I guess how I always do, honestly and frankly as I am. I think the idea of pretending to be someone that you're not, or lying to people's face and saying, I'm this or I'm that, is just beyond one direction is being like deceitful and wrong. It's just inauthentic, quite frankly. So when it comes to the presentation of oneself and the faculty at large, it should be an honest image of who you are and who you are as students. That's honestly how you should represent us, otherwise we can lie. the faculty members.
Thank you very much. We will now hear from Paige.
How I would like to present myself to the engineering students and to the wide array of people that I may interact with is just being a reliable source, for one, and to be an approachable person that people can come to with what they want to be done and what they would like to see happen on their behalf in Senate. I'd like to present myself in a way that students, they do feel that they can trust me and that they can communicate with me and that I will bring that to the Senate in exactly the way that they would like. I would also like in the Senate to present myself in a way that reflects the values of Smith Engineering itself, as I'm representing not only myself, I'm representing our faculty as a whole in the Senate, being one of only a few engineering students who are going to be representing the engineering faculty in the Senate. So keeping that in mind when I do speak or when I do make decisions or just carry myself, that it's not really me that they're seeing all of us. So thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates. That is the end of the question period, and we will now move into closing statements. Each candidate will have 5 minutes for closing statements, and we'll move in the opposite direction as we did opening. So we'll start off with that.
So thank you all again for being here tonight and for taking the time to engage in this important discussion. Throughout this debate, I hope I've demonstrated my passion for representing our voices and my commitment to making a meaningful impact as your junior senator if elected. I truly believe that our voices, the voices of engineering students, deserve not just to be heard, but to lead meaningful action. This is not just a campaign for me, it's a promise to each of you. A promise to listen, to advocate, and to deliver real results that reflect your needs and your goals. Being a representative is about more than just holding a title, it's about holding responsibility. It's about ensuring that your voices, your concerns, and your aspirations aren't just heard, but acted upon. I promise to dedicate myself fully to this role. I will prioritize listening, transparency, and action to make sure your ideas and goals are brought to life. What drives me most is my passion for this community and for making positive change. When I found NSHOC, I knew right away that I found a home. I am so beyond grateful for the opportunities I have received so far, the amazing people I have met through this community, and for my role models, who without I wouldn't be up here today. Shout out Sophia. I'm inspired every day by the incredible energy, creativity, and determination of my fellow NSHOC members and fellow peers. That passion fuels my commitment to advocate for what matters most to you and to fight for initiatives that will improve our university experience. Being part of this community means everything to me, and I want to give back in a way that makes a real difference. We all share a common vision, a university where every student feels represented, supported, and empowered to thrive. That's the vision I will work toward every single day. With your input, your ideas, and your support, I believe we can create meaningful and lasting change. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my vision tonight. I'm excited for what we can accomplish together, and I hope to earn your trust and support. Thank you, and don't forget to be an ally and vote for Allie. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now hear from Paige.
Yeah, thank you all for taking the time to listen today. I hope I've demonstrated why I'm the right candidate to represent you as junior senator. This role is more than attending meetings or voting on policies. It's about being a voice for all students, ensuring that your concerns, ideas, and experiences are heard and acted upon at the highest levels of decision making. I bring to this role a commitment to inclusivity, a passion for advocacy, and a vision for a stronger, more connected Queens community. I will work tirelessly to ensure that every student has the opportunity to thrive academically, socially, and personally. Together, we can create a meaningful change and leave a positive mark on our university. I am honored to have the opportunity to represent you, and I have promised to approach this role with dedication, transparency, and integrity. Thank you, and I hope I can count on your support.
We will now hear from Valentine.
To begin, I would like to conclude. I would like to say thank you all for coming out here this evening. I know it's really cold and it's quite a walk. At the end of the day, if this election period has done anything, I would at least hope that it had made us more educated about things happening at this university. If elected, I would hope to bring past experience that I've had representing my fellow students to further and continue to represent our history here at this university. I do love Queen's University, and I do love its faculty, obviously, but given that opportunity to represent you, it would be a great honor, and I would love to. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our junior senator candidates for coming out to the debate tonight. That concludes the junior senator debate. Thank you all for coming out tonight. That was at the ends of the debates. Thank you so much for coming. I said that already. We're having another debate tomorrow for the Vice President of Finance and Operations, Finance and Administration, and then Operations, and also Student Affairs. Come up to that. It'll be a good time. There'll be more pizza. Also, voting is next week, Monday and Tuesday. You'll get emails. Very easy. Thank you all for coming tonight. Have a warm walk home. Woo!